Hey, what's going on? This is James Mathew, and you're listening to Chasing Dreams with Amy J.
Welcome to Chasing Dreams podcast with Amy J. Amy believes that realizing a life without regrets is achieved by taking chances, chasing your dreams, making moves, and overcoming your doubts. The Chasing Dreams podcast will help you overcome life's obstacles, believe in your potential, and inspire you to face your fears. And now here's the woman who is passionately pursuing her dreams, Amy J.
Hey, Dream Chasers, this is Amy J, and thank you so much for tuning in to episode 149 of Chasing Dreams. This episode is sponsored by our Patreon campaign supporters, for whom I am eternally grateful for. For more information on our Patreon campaign, and or if you'd like to donate $1 a month to help keep the show going, and you can stop at any time, you can learn more at amyj21.com/Patreon. Guys, I am so stoked for this penultimate episode. I can't wait for you to listen. You know, I'm just so stoked because number 149 is family. And so I want you to meet my nephew, James Mathew, who is a rising sophomore at Harvard College, pursuing a degree in sociology and global health and health policy. Raised in Hinsdale, Illinois, a fortunate suburb of Chicago, James grew up in a paradoxical environment. His identity as a first-generation Indian American informs his politics and fuels his passion for social impact, empathy, and diversity. His most notable endeavors to date are Got Food, a smartphone application that curbs the effects of domestic hunger, and 21 Colorful Crimson, a Harvard-based music group that advocates for a more inclusive America while pursuing professional success. And so James is staying with my family for the summer while he interns in DC. And, you know, we got to talking and I was aware of what he was doing. And I just thought he has to come on the show because not just him, but his group, they're doing some amazing things and you guys should hear about it and how even at such a young age, he is doing what he is passionate about. And so let me stop talking. You guys got to meet James. Okay. So here it is. Hey, James. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I am so stoked. Guys, you're meeting more of my family, more and more. James is my nephew. He's here in the studio, which is exciting because I don't get to record live very often.
Right.
So this is an exciting time. You get to be in the studio, the second one in the office studio, which is cool. And why don't we talk a little bit? Because we've been family for over 19 years, 20 years?
Mm-hmm. 19.
19.
So, yeah.
Yeah, 19 years. And I've seen you grow up and you are doing some amazing things at Harvard and you have some amazing goals. Mm-hmm. And that I think was something I'm curious about because, you know, for Indians in particular, it's kind of a rigid idea of what we're going to do.
Yes,
right?
often. Yeah.
It changes with generations. I think it's slowly changing.
Right.
But, you know, did you face that? Did you face that with your family where they expected you to do a specific role?
Mm-hmm. You know, what I think is interesting, because I think so often for Indians and people in our community, kids in our community, it is often the family that is holding them to those stereotypes, if you will, expectations. For me, I think I had the privilege of, at least in the sense of my family, not being too strictly held to fulfill a certain path. But I would say, in my community growing up, kind of from people outside of my house, there was some of that just because, you know, I got good grades and from a certain light looked a lot like the Indian stereotype. You know, I was pretty good in math and pretty good in science. And so,
you hit the check boxes.
Right. And when you do, you tend to get pigeonholed. And so that's something that I experienced growing up. It was a lot of assumptions that I was going to be a doctor. I'd say it didn't help, I guess, that my mom was a doctor. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it was kind of the natural, just a natural assumption that people would make. But what I will say to that point is that in the house, between my mom, my dad, Amachi, my grandma, and even Phil, you know, there wasn't really one path that I had to fulfill. My mom, being the doctor, had always said, you know, I don't need you to do medicine. Whatever you want to do, go for it. You find what you're passionate about.
So that's interesting because I was going to ask, do you think, because you said the outside culture was the one that was more or less trying to pigeonhole you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think consciously your parents were trying to fight against that?
That's really interesting. I've never thought about that, but it could be, because I know my parents are very attuned to circumstances like that. And I'm sure if they picked that up, then they would have done exactly that. They would have tried to make me feel like I didn't have to go just down that one path. So that's really possible. Yeah.
I mean, because at the same time, you did do things that, as you said, you checked the boxes.
Yeah.
Right. But one of the things you also checked off is musical talent.
Right.
Right. Your dad's very talented.
Yes, he is.
With music.
Yes, he is.
Sajjad, if you're listening, I think you're talented. And so you and Phil don't fall far from the street.
Right. We got those genes. Yeah.
Was that something though that you enjoyed, or was that something your parents kind of wanted you to kind of test out and feel out? And if it didn't take, then it didn't take. But was that something you enjoyed, or was that kind of forced?
I think so. There was one aspect of music in my life that was forced, and that was just at the very beginning. It was classical piano lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom, she tells me, had wanted that for her kids since she was kind of a young adult, just because she, coming from another country, not having much at all when she started up here, didn't have that privilege to get instrument lessons. And so she had wanted that for her kids. So when I was 4 or 5, something really young.
You were young. I remember a video.
Yeah. And so I got thrown into the lessons, the recitals, the competitions, and really did that and enjoyed it for a pretty long time. I eventually started to lose interest, just because I think I did it so much, it started to become a chore more than something enjoyable, which I think is common. The more you kind of try and train something. But other than that, I think the rest that I've done with music, whether it was kind of picking up the guitar, using my foundation with piano, or then adding voice and singing to then, try and do some different performances with my brother at different, it was family weddings and it was talent shows and it was just kind of events here and there. That all was just sheer passion. And that was just me really loving, music as, honestly, to reference my earlier point, I think the reason why I loved it the most was that it was defying stereotypes. In doing that, my brother and I in doing music, was something that always, could surprise a crowd because they just didn't expect that from us. And so that was something that I also enjoyed it for. So
as you were growing up and you're defying these stereotypes, you're checking off the boxes at the same time, right?
Which is
so you're doing both.
Exactly.
Were the people around you, your friends, do you think they were facing the same thing? Did you guys talk about that?
We didn't talk too much about that. Growing up, I didn't have too many conversations like this. And I think that was a product just of how homogenous my community was. It was very, there weren't many minorities. And so with that being said, I had a really close friend of mine, who I had known since kindergarten, living across the street from me, who was East Asian. He was Korean. And so we would sometimes talk about these kind of things in terms of how stereotypes are kind of thrown on us, especially in a place where there's very few of us. And at a place where ignorance can be high, not out of any malicious reason, but I think just when people don't see people who aren't like them, they don't have the opportunity to inform themselves about people who are different. And so ignorance, I think, at certain cases can kind of get born out of just not having contact with people who are different. And
that's very true.
Yeah. And so with that, the short answer is no. I didn't really have too many conversations like this growing up. I would say it's only been in college that I've had the opportunity to talk about these kind of things.
And we're going to talk about that in a second.
Definitely.
But before we get there, with the idea that you're defying stereotypes and at the same time checking boxes off, right? Because it's a very unique position to be in.
Yeah.
Right? It seems like it would give you a little bit more freedom, especially when you have a supportive family as you do.
Yeah.
Did you know what you want to be, or do you know what you want to do in the future?
I think for a long time, I've wanted to help people. I think that's been a driving theme, a driving mission. And I think I would even say, I think it's a calling. of mine that I've experienced. And I say that I think the reason why that mission shaped itself in my life is largely due to others' reception and kind of the attitude toward me. I think since a young age, I was, always blessed to get different leadership roles in school. And it would happen really regularly, whether it was a class project or whether it was on the soccer field or, in just different areas of my life. People would kind of task me with leading the group. And I think that the reason that usually is because they trust in me to put others' benefit over my own and to kind of lead by example and set just a good tone for what a group should be doing, what a group should be about. And so with that, it started to shape my own aspirations. I said, if people seem to trust me, if they seem to like me in leadership roles, I just want to use that leadership to then in turn help those who are entrusting me with it. And so I think that's something that defines what I want to do. I would say long term, I would love to commit my life to public service, whatever that looks like. And so that's kind of where I'm at now. It's looking for professions or places I can take myself where I can help others.
What's interesting is that you've kept it, now I don't want to say generic because that seems to kind of really make it bland, but you've kept it general.
Yeah.
Right? In the sense of public service, helping others, in whatever form that may be.
Right.
And so it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're very open to different avenues and you haven't necessarily settled on one, whether it be politics, medicine, law, what have you. Because, our family does have a slew of all those professions. Exactly. So they're all, formidable and well worth careers.
Right.
But is there one you're leaning towards or you're just kind of testing out the waters, so to speak?
I think I even take it the other way in terms of the reason why me keeping it general, I think is not so much so that I can then narrow it down to one when I get more information. But I think subconsciously or, maybe consciously as I've thought more about it getting older, I think I keep it general because I don't see a reason for me to only do one.
Ooh.
To be honest, I think there is, enough years in a professional career if you play cards right where I could maybe find myself in multiple of, like, for example, those jobs that you just listed. I think that I don't want to be confined to one area because I think that the more spaces that you get to work in, again, just the more people that you have the privilege of helping.
And that's not to say you're trying to get into all three, or maybe you are, but the fact that why put a limit upon yourself before you even get there?
That's my thinking.
So let's go back to what you said earlier, because you talked about how you grew up in a homogenous neighborhood.
Yes.
Right? And kind of had that growing up. And here you are at Harvard, and you've made a name, not just for yourself, but for a group of friends to come together and do something amazing. And guys, the link for their song and all their information will be on the show notes page, so you can find it there. But let's talk 21cc.
Let's do it.
21cc, when people come up with bands and groups, they are usually under 10 fingers in terms of members.
Yeah, fair enough.
And sometimes garages is when they practice and get that together. You have, sir, congratulations, defied the stereotypes and not only didn't practice in a garage, but also have 21 members in this group.
Yes, we do.
I don't even think we can call it a band. This group, musical group, very talented, right? And that was just from the Harvard video that highlighted and profiled your group. But how did this come about? Let's talk a little bit about that. Where did 21cc even come from?
Definitely. Sure. So 21cc, which stands for 21 Colorful Crimson, was born out of a couple things, I would say. So the first one being a desire to carry over my passion for music that I had, like I talked about briefly, like I had growing up, whether it was piano or guitar or music, or voice, just some kind of music performance, is really what I grew up loving. And it was always an outlet for me, even from academics and from other more stressful things. It was what I loved and what was enjoyable. And so when I got to Harvard, knowing that the academic rigor was definitely going to be there, and there was going to be a lot of potential stressors. I really want to find a place to make music and to continue that. And what I also wanted to do, and which Harvard gave me the agency to do, is embrace my very diverse class of peers. So what's really interesting actually is that my class, the Harvard's class of 2021, is the first to not have a racial or ethnic majority, meaning that it's kind of a class full of minorities. So with that, I think there's been a lot of opportunities for us to have conversations about what it means to be in a diverse environment, and also take action on how do we capitalize on this diverse environment that's being handed to us. And so 21cc was an example, or was an effort made to capitalize on the diversity of the class. And so just diagnosing the name, the 21 stands for the class of 2021, which we all belong to, all the members belong to. It's also stands for the number of members in the group, which you alluded to. So it's 21 members. Crimson is Harvard Crimson. So that just gives a little credit to the place that brought us all together and the place that we love going to school. And the colorful in the center there, rightfully so, because we consider it the most important piece of the group, of the name. And that is that we are all from very different backgrounds. We all look different. We all have different narratives, but we come together around something that we really love, which is making music. And we find a way to overlook many of the divisions that society kind of throws upon us.
Sure.
And we reject those divisions for the sake of music and unity.
So before we go to the group part, was there ever a fear on your part
Sure.
of, just like classical piano, of being burned out, of it becoming a chore? Especially now that you kind of formalized a group.
Yeah.
There's a little pressure there, right?
Yeah. And that's interesting that you asked that, because so far, luckily, it hasn't become one. I don't look at it like a chore. But now that we are doing some formal things where there are deadlines, we need X amount of songs by this date, we really need to record this video. It does start to, treat itself like a job, in certain aspects. And so I hope it never turns into that. And I think that the group element helps it not, because I'm surrounded by friends and people that I really enjoy spending time with doing this alongside with me. And so it's less likely for me to get burned out, I think, just because there's so much passion and enjoyment within the group. But that's a really interesting point that you bring up, because it did happen with piano, and I hope that it doesn't with this.
And how do you balance your schoolwork with this? Because I know your family.
Yes.
I know where you come from.
Of course.
High standards is something that not only we hold, but I know that you hold that as well.
Definitely.
For yourself, especially with what you're trying to do in life. Where does that fall in terms of kind of 21cc, all the activities you're doing? Maybe you have hobbies. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Yeah, definitely. One of the most quickly asked questions when we tell people about this group is, how do you guys, go to class? and
Valid question.
And what's funny is, I think that we have such little problem multitasking and scheduling around making sure that we're able to have rehearsals and have studio sessions, again, because it's something that we enjoy, and it's the opposite of a chore. It's the opposite of homework, so where we might be having a late night study session for a test and really dreading it, we never dread a late night studio session, and so I think that, yes, sometimes we get less sleep, and there's only a given amount of hours in the day. So you do have to make some sacrifices and some compromises when deadlines come up. But again, even if we're at the studio early into the morning hours, no one's complaining, which is really cool, actually, that people are just so happy to be there and do what we love.
How late are we talking? Late night studio session?
Oh my gosh. No, we've had some 3:30 a.m.s. It gets
Yeah, but when you say you're passionate about it, you guys have to be passionate about it if you're staying up that late.
You have to.
So what was the need for, well, let's talk a little bit about how you found 21 people. I mean,
Sure.
Did you go and hand out flyers? I mean, was there a need to formalize the group the way you did? I mean, what was your thought? And are you alone in founding 21cc, or how did that look? What was the beginnings?
Yeah, sure. So, when I had this idea, it was actually during first semester, and that was to formalize something that we had already been doing very casually. So with a group of friends, it was pretty common for us, whether we were at the dining hall or kind of in Harvard Yard, a very casual place where you can pull over chairs and hang out with friends, we would just start singing and we would just start making music. And what I would notice is that people would kind of gather around, whether it was other classmates or even tourists in the area, they would kind of gather around and listen. And that planted the seed for what then became 21cc, because it showed that, one, we were talented and others would enjoy something like this. And so when I had the name, it was actually over winter break. It was in kind of late December, early January, when I was like, I think 21 Colorful Crimson, is it 21cc was going to be what we should call this. And so,
wait, so at that time, did you know you were going to hire or find 21 people?
No. So, 21 at the onset was just for the class year.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point that you mentioned it, because at the beginning we weren't sure how many people would even be interested in something like this, and you just don't know how people are going to receive an idea. And so 21 was not yet the designated number of members. But I reached out to kind of the other members, close friends of mine who have really helped me put this on. So my co-founder is a friend of mine, Olivia Owens, and then we reached out to our friend Jasmine Hippolyte, and then Samira Miller, just these people, friends of mine, who are going to help me get this project off the ground. And then what we did was put together a Google form application and put it into our Harvard Class of 2021 Facebook group, which has kind of been the one way for the whole class to communicate. So credit to social media. You mentioned flyers. If it was any year before this one, we might have to do flyers, but just being in the time that we are now, we were able to, take advantage of Facebook, and then got a whole bunch of responses from people that we knew, friends of mine that I already had, and people I didn't know. And then the four of us sat down in a room one Saturday afternoon and listened to all these applications, read some applications as well. I should mention that not all of our members are musicians. So there are, out of the 21, 2/3, so 14 people do some kind of music role, whether it's singing or producing, or rapping. And the other 7 are, either in visual art space, so they'll do film or photography for us, or they're in the business space where they'll do marketing and social media and outreach and those kind of things. So there was reviewing some of those applications as well. And then we found ourselves with more applications than we had anticipated. And with that, when we started to find ourselves around the number 21, kind of with 23 people we really liked, kind of 24 in that area, we were like, okay, now that we're kind of around this number of 21, that'd be a pretty cool double meaning in the name if it was in fact 21 people. Let's see if we can narrow this down to 21 individuals. And that's exactly what we did. And so, all credit also goes to those friends of mine that helped me get this going. Because I know how hard it is sometimes to just believe in an idea. When you come to people with just a concept, and I've had this experience with some other things I've created in the past, you can't fault someone for not initially buying in or believing that it's going to be as successful as you think it is going to be. I mean, that when you started this show, I'm sure you just don't know how well it's going to work. And then I think the best is when gradually people start to see the results and they start to get it. They start to understand the vision and understand the potential. But those 3 people, didn't even need any proof. So I'm really thankful for that I came with this idea and they said, let's do it. And they hopped on.
So what I love most about this, one, besides the fact that these people, believed without seeing.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is big.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
your group is not just diverse in terms of race.
Exactly.
It's diverse in terms of practicality, specialties.
Exactly.
And all of them, all of you guys seem to be passionate around the message of what 21cc stands for and the songs you write, you know, and that is amazing because it's hard to get, like you said, 2 or 3 people to buy in.
Yeah.
You got 21 people to buy in, and now you're getting more and more through your first song.
Right.
How You Gonna Hate?
Right.
Which was, I love the song.
Thank you.
I do. I'm biased, but you know, the song is on the link. You listen to it and tell me it's not good. I dare you. So, you know, there's that. But, you know, the fact that you all came together to put this together, right, without necessarily formal experience, different backgrounds, some newbies, some professionals, some, you know, and still came out with this quality song that you performed, right? You guys have dance moves.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because probably one of your people's a choreographer.
1 or 2 we have that are capable of making a routine for the group. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. And the fact that you're helping these individuals chase their own dreams.
Exactly.
Right? And it's like, it doesn't matter that everyone's diverse. You all are helping one another.
Right.
And that is amazing to me.
Right.
Did you think that that's what you were doing when you first did this? Let's break it down for me.
Just about to say that I didn't. I didn't think that members were going to get as much self-fulfillment and see as much individual growth that they are currently. You know, I have friends in the group who had never stepped on stage before. You know, did music very well, very talented, obviously, but did it in their mirror, you know, did it in the shower, seriously. And it's a surprise to a lot of audience members when they see these guys that they've never been on stage before. But believe it or not, you know, there's a few people who were just really shy or just had never had the opportunity to do it. And this group gave them the opportunity to do so. And I love also hearing from the people who aren't on the music end. And I love hearing from them how they value the group and how they love the way in which they're contributing. Even though music is the center of the group and music is on paper what we do, there's a lot more that goes into our success. And those members know that they're playing an important part, which means a lot to me. Because I think anytime that you're leading something, you need to make sure that all the people that are working with you feel like they have a purpose and feel like they're contributing. And I believe that all our members do feel that way and that they really do get something special out of just being a member of the group.
And this is, you said, winter break. You kind of came up with this, started formalizing. So it's about what? This is July 2018.
Yeah, it's about half a year old.
Six, maybe 7 months since inception of idea.
Yeah.
So very quickly, you got your first single out.
Yeah.
Right? You've already had performances. You have performances probably scheduled already for upcoming.
We do.
Yeah, there you go. And so you didn't have professional recording background, right?
No.
You didn't have, hey, this is how you make a star. American Idol, there's a guide, a mentor.
No.
So how do you figure that out?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think one thing that really helped with that was the fact that in 21 people, like you said, everyone is bringing a different skill set, and also everyone's bringing a different experience level. So there were a few notable people in the group who had been in a studio before, who had done some recording on their own, and were able to lend that expertise to us, which really helped, which really helped a lot of us with that learning curve. But that being said, there was a learning curve. You know, there was definitely a long period where we would go in the studio and we weren't even too much worried about recording the song, getting a song out on Spotify. We were just trying to navigate the space, and we were like, you know, where's the record button? How do we, you know, slice this part and put it here? Like really fundamental learning. Because we didn't take a class for it. You know, we just hopped in, and all thanks to Harvard for giving us a studio, free of charge actually for their students, which has been a huge resource. But we just went into the studio and tried to learn what we were doing and tried to figure it out. And with those more experienced members leading the charge, we kind of just came around and eventually figured out what we were doing.
So it's very Sister Act like, by the way. Wait, have you seen Sister Act 2? Oh, come on, man. One, I have done a disservice to you as your Chechi, an older sister, and I have to rectify that to my listeners. I apologize for this lapse in education. I will fix it. For those listening, though, this is a total Sister Act 2 moment. It's a compliment. It is.
Okay.
We're going to rectify that later.
Okay. Sounds good.
So what I'm saying because of this learning moment is you guys are helping one another.
Definitely.
Right? You're not only kind of building each other's dreams, but you're coming together. And I'm very big on community helping one another to kind of uplift each other. And it sounds like you guys are doing that regardless. Now, you guys are performing as 21cc. Are the members still doing their own things separately?
Some are, yeah. So we have a few members, some rappers in the group who will still work on some material and, put out the occasional song. We have some producers in the group who will put out beats that they've made. Some singers that will post videos of them doing some stuff on their Instagram and on their YouTubes and stuff. And I don't see anything wrong with that. I know sometimes people, have issue with members of a group pursuing individual things because it can sometimes look like they're not about the group. But just from my personal experience, and I know because I know these individuals so well in the group, I know that it's not that. If anything, when they get some credit for their individual stuff, they often have a tendency of kind of shining the light back on the group and using some of that individual attention they get to direct it toward what the group's doing, which is really cool of our members to do. But yes, people, just because they're in the group doesn't mean that they're not doing anything else. People are still doing their individual thing too.
See, guys, you can do your own thing and be in a group. It's not always going to be the NSYNC effect,
right?
Or Fifth Harmony or One Direction.
Drama filled. No, it can be a healthy thing too.
Yeah, that's great that people can still kind of fly solo and do their own thing.
Right.
And so you guys just started, again, 6 months, got another, right? You have 4, some people may have 5 years left in their college education. Do you see it going all the way in that sense?
I think at the beginning of this, I wasn't sure. After, and I know it doesn't seem like a long time, but after these 6 months and some of the gigs that we were able to play and some of the attention that we've gotten, both from the university and now we're starting to get some attention outside even, I would definitely say yes. And I am pretty confident that all other 20 members would say yes too, which I think is just a testament to how much people enjoy it and the potential that they see for it.
Now, when you talk to your other members, right, you guys got such a diversity and such varying backgrounds, right? You probably have, and this is no offense, just examples of characteristics, right? You probably have athletes, brainies, people who are crafty, right? All these different backgrounds that people are bringing to the table, right? So do they have visions for the group that they've kind of talked to you about and said, hey, let's kind of get a clothing line. I don't know, things like that kind of influence how you guys, because there's 21 voices, right? How do you not go crazy with 21 opinions?
We have gone crazy.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
And
there you go.
And we, with 21 voices, recognize that 21 people can never agree perfectly. And it's never the idea, honestly. It's never our intent to have everyone agree, because part of being diverse is having diverse opinions and diverse perspectives that can better inform a collective perspective. And so that's something that we always really tune into, is when someone has a suggestion, or when 2 people even more have opposing suggestions, have opposing visions. We really focus in and we'll talk about it as a group, which, what I'm alluding to is pretty regular, at least once a month, I would say, where we're getting the whole group in a room together, at least as many members as we can. Scheduling is always tough with 21 bodies, but as many members as we can in a room to have these conversations about concepts, about visions, big picture stuff, about themes of the group. And with that, we want to hear what people want. We want to hear where people disagree, and we want to kind of navigate all those things as a group together.
So to dispel any rumors, you guys don't have sudden death matches or anything like that to make a decision?
No.
Oh, that's a little bit of a bummer, I gotta say.
Sorry to disappoint.
It's like duel at 10 paces? Nothing?
No, nothing like that. We try and
you can do it friendly like, right?
Fair enough. We could. But I think that, with that being said, there have been some meetings where, people got up from their chairs and people started to, raise their voices a little bit. And it's never coming from a bad place. It really more so is coming from how passionate everyone is about their craft and this group, that they want it to be perfect. And sometimes when they feel like they're not being heard, or they think that a suggestion is being missed, they can get pretty passionate in advocating for that suggestion. But with that being said, we're a friend group more than anything. We're a music group, but we're also a group of friends, which makes it really fun, and which also kind of reminds us at the end of the day why we're doing what we're doing, and how there's really nothing that is going to break us apart, that at least that we can foresee, because we're just close, that we can get over any little fights.
Guess I was just hoping for some thumb wars or something,
I know.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
It's still young. I think, to be honest, I think what you guys are doing and how you resolve that is very, and it's, I was going to say adult, but the thing is, even adults don't do that.
True.
It's very responsible. And right, when I can't say adult, I'm like, it's very big. It's very important that you guys do it that way, because I think sometimes things get resolved faster when you listen to one another.
Definitely.
Right? I mean, that's the interesting thing, is your approach isn't one that's taken by a lot of people.
I don't think so. No, at least from what I've seen. I've seen some collaborative spaces, right? Quote unquote collaborative, that can be pretty passive aggressive. It can be
my way or the highway.
Yeah, it can be pretty hostile. And that's not what we try to do. We're looking at collaboration in its sincere form, of where you're listening. Honestly, when each member is listening more than they're talking. And I think that's when we really get progress and can really make a difference with our effective decision making.
So when you guys talked last, is there a vision that you can share that we can look forward to from seeing with 21cc in the future?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, so we have one single out currently. So that's How You Gonna Hate. It's on. We were able to get on all the streaming platforms.
Like what?
Like Apple Music, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, Google Play. Pretty much all those things that you can think of. We were able to check those boxes. YouTube as well. So we're excited for that it's out there for people to listen, so we can actively share it. So what's next is more music, of course. We have some members actually that are doing things on campus this summer. So they have the opportunity to get into the studio and keep chipping away at different projects and different songs that we have in the works. So more music is definitely a priority. And with that, we recognize that just making music doesn't really guarantee that anyone's going to listen to that music. And that's really where the non-musician people come into the whole purpose and the whole mission, because the social media, our outreach director and the person we have running the social media and the person we have doing the website and maintaining all that is also equally as important as the singer and rapper that's on the song. Because they have the responsibility of advertising the song and creating our brand as a group, as 21 Colorful Crimson. And so there's going to be a lot of that to look forward to. We're building our presence on social media. So I will say now, maybe remind people at the end too, but at the 21cc is where you can find us on all those platforms. So like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And so that's something that we're chipping away at this summer and going forward.
And you have a website.
And we do have a website, yes. So www.21colorfulcrimson.org is where you can learn more about the story, where you can keep up to date on all the media we're putting out, whether it's music or videos or behind the scenes content. I will also note that this is another question we get often is how do we fund this? Because as students, on a student budget. Most people know how that is in college.
Yes.
That's a non-existent one, to clarify. Our budget is zero. So with that being said, one thing that we've recently created, we have a couple of platforms actually. So we have both a GoFundMe page and a Patreon page.
Okay.
Basically, having set up the one page before the other, we received feedback that certain people want to give in different ways. So while some people might be inclined to be those regular donors and want to see more into the group, more on the wave of Patreon, others, don't want to have to commit to a regular schedule of giving.
Yes.
So with that, they prefer something like GoFundMe, where they can give one time and support the group, certainly, but then just not be tied down to further commitment. And so with that, we have pages on both those platforms opened, and any donations really go toward our artistic process and creating music and video content. And also just in fulfilling our mission and furthering our mission to illustrate a diverse group and really a picture of what we want America to look like, which is not a society that's confined by these restrictions that we often hear about, in today's climate, especially, with politics as they are, but a place where we can come together despite those things, despite that negativity, and really just live by love and really just come together.
And guys, you guys can find all those links that he just mentioned on the show notes page. So if you're driving, keep driving. You can just look it up. We'll get to you at the end of the episode. So James, before I let you go, and because you're so early on in this dream chase, right? But you're already seeing rewards from the hard work you're putting in. What is a lesson you have learned that you think other people should kind of be aware of as they chase their own dreams?
I think the biggest lesson that I can take away so far, is that I alluded to it a little bit earlier, but it's that, expect people to not believe you at first. Because I think that's a really strong setback when you try to create something, or when you try and step out of a box, or you try and defy a stereotype, is people aren't necessarily going to buy in right away, mostly because it's not been done. And that's the whole point of a dream. What makes it a dream is that it's not easily attainable. You do have to take some risks. You do have to challenge yourself. And so those around you are not always going to appreciate the process and the vision that you have in your mind. But I think the biggest lesson that I've taken away is, despite what people might think or say initially, keep pushing. Because chances are, if you do dedicate enough hard work and time and persevere through it, that eventually those people who were uncertain initially are going to come around, and they're going to see what you're doing, the same way that you see it, and they're going to really appreciate it. So that's what I would say. Chase your dream and chase it relentlessly. Don't ever stop.
Is it fair to say that no one should believe in your dream more than you?
I think that it's a huge blessing if someone does, but I think that it's just not likely that someone is going to, because, only you can be inside your own head. Only you can truly see the vision for what it is. But with that being said, I think that there's no greater joy than realizing an idea. Because when you see that product, or you see something, realize that you only had just a thought about, and now it's something real for everyone else to observe. It's really something beautiful. And so if you're lucky enough to have someone who believes in it, or have a group of people, I would even say, like some of those founding members I talked about, were definitely people who believed in it initially. But I'm still not sure. You asked that question in an interesting way. I'm still not sure if they believed in it more than I did. I'm not sure if anyone did truly, just because I knew what I wanted to do with it, and tried to execute it as such. But definitely feel blessed and feel privileged if you do have people around you who are that supportive of you.
That is awesome, James. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing the story behind 21 Colorful Crimson, and we wish you guys the best, and I can't wait to see where you guys go with this.
Thanks, Amy Chachi. It was such an honor to be on your show. I've thought about doing this for a long time, and thank you for that. I hope that the group just goes up from here.
Well, we will find out and keep track.
That we will.
And guys, that was my nephew, James Mathew. How incredible, right? It is. He is. I love it. You guys should definitely check out 21 Colorful Crimson. Check out the websites, check out the links, download their music legally, and support them. They are doing some amazing things. It's only been 6 months. I can't wait to see where they're going. You can hear them here first. You learned about them here first, probably. Now go listen to them. Okay? You can find all the links that we mentioned on the show notes page over at amyj21.com/episode 149. That's episode 149. Until next time, Dream Chasers, keep chasing.
Thank you so much for listening to Chasing Dreams. Amy would love to connect with you and hear all about your pursuit of chasing your dreams. Connect with her on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram via @ChasingDreamsHQ. Or you can find Amy on Twitter @AmyJ21. That's AIMEEJ21. Be sure to visit headquarters over at ChasingDreamsHQ.com for more inspiration, motivation, and resources to help with your own dream chase. We hope you'll join Amy next week, and until then, keep chasing.